Hi, I'm Satori, and today we're going to talk about caliper slide service. Why that's important is as your brake rotor goes round and round, the brake pads squish against the brake rotor to stop the car, which is great, but if the brake pads don't release, they're constantly dragging on the brake rotor, wearing on the pad, causing premature wear, noise, heating of the brakes, and can cause a pulsation. To get at the caliper slides, the first thing we do is we have to remove the brake caliper. Usually our two bolts, I already have this partially removed, so we just have to get the two bolts put out there, and we remove the brake caliper. And then we have to remove this big apron plate that holds the brake pads in place. Again, there's two bolts on here, so I quickly remove, actually have those previously removed. I'm going to take those off of there. I take the caliper slide off with the pads in place. Okay, we have the brake apron plate off on the workbench now, and these brake pads have to slide in and out. Also, there's rubber slides in here that these have to slide in and out. If these rust tight for any reason, this can't float. Plus, the brake pads can't float in and out and will bind tight. So what we want to do is remove the brake pads out of here. And actually, what happens is rust develops behind these two tabs here. I'll get them off in just a moment. Okay, I'm going to take off these two little metal clips which are rusted in place already. We shouldn't have to pry these out like this, but there's all rust in place, and that's going to bind the brake pads and cause them to wear prematurely. With these brackets removed, you can see all the rust that's built up on these sections here, and that rust pushes and pushes on these little brackets, which binds these brake pads in place, and then they don't slide. And that's what causes premature regular brake pad wear. Very important in this climate to get that cleaned out every other year, otherwise the brake pads wear out prematurely. Also, there are two guide pin bolts that go through here, and they tend to rust in place as well. So we're going to get this all cleaned up properly, lubricated, and then you'll see the difference. Now we're going to clean all the rust off these caliper slides. This is the anchor plate, and what we use for that is a bead blaster. So I'm going to put that in a bead blaster and get that rust out of here. As you can see, we have this bead blaster now. It's nice and shiny. All the rust is off the surfaces. That's how it should be. That's how it came new. We need to lubricate that to keep that from rusting. We also quickly clean these two little clips, brackets, so those are nice and clean as well. We have a couple different types of lubricants. This is a ultra disc brake caliper synthetic lubricant. It's high temperature. It doesn't wipe off very easy, so it's designed for that type of environment. And also we have rubber parts, so for that we have a high temperature silicone type lubricant we're going to use on there. Okay, now I'm applying just a thin coat of this. We don't want to squish out too much onto the brake, so I'm going to put a thin coat of this on all surfaces. Okay, I have a nice thin coat on here, and then I'm also going to get this installed next. I have the other one already pressed into place. And then we're going to also put a really thin coat on this surface also. Okay, now I'm going to get these caliper pins lubricated up, so I take a little bit of this high temp silicone grease, and I'm going to make sure these are coated well. This one's rather clean, even though the other two slides were rather dirty, but this one's rather clean. Many times these are rusted tight. A lot of times these rubber boots are cracked, broken, so we have to replace these pieces. But this car wasn't too bad, except for those anchor plates were very rusty. And we'll also put a little bit of lubricant in the inside as well. You don't want to put too much lubricant in there, otherwise it can hydrolock. So just a little bit on each side to make sure that it's going to continue to work well. Okay, we have everything cleaned and lubricated. Now it's just a matter of putting things back together. So we're going to get the little pins put in here, and we want to put those in there, and then make sure you purge the air out of them so they don't stick in place. And then these pads are going to go in their little plates here, and there's an inside and outside, to make sure you put those back how they came out. Okay, here we have the caliper anchor plate together with the pads in place, which are floating nice and free. We have the pins in place, which are floating nice and free. Then we have to install this back on the vehicle. It's really critical that these anchor bolts right here get Loctited in place with some special thread locking compound, then torque to specifications. So that's what I'm going to do now. Okay, now I'm going to tighten these two bolts that hold this big heavy anchor plate onto the suspension of the car, and we use a torque wrench for that. Every vehicle and every different types of fast car has a different specification. This particular one is for 70 foot-pounds, so I'm going to torque each one to 70 foot-pounds now. And this wrench actually buzzes and chirps at me once I get to the desired torque. And now I don't have to worry about those bolts coming loose. and now these brake pads are nice and loose in place. So after they are applied, they're going to be able to come back and not rub against the brake rotors. Now we just have to get this caliper slid back over the top. Okay, this is all completed now. The bolts are all torqued to specification. This caliper slide can slide back and forth real easy. These brake pads can slide back and forth, so when the brake pads are applied, they're applying nice and evenly, so they wear nice. When they're released, they're coming back, so they're not dragging, and your brakes are going to last quite a bit longer, reduce heat, even improve fuel economy a little bit due to less rolling resistance. Hope you enjoyed the video.